What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of BOP. This is your boy AD. Got Bab in the building, Leo in the building, three-man crew rolling. How y'all guys doing today?
Doing good, man.
A bit overwhelmed by the news, but we're doing good. Can't complain.
Big news. Houston Texans cut down to the 53. Made some cuts, surprising cuts, and some surprising players that's still on the roster. So we're going to go through all of the shenanigans that is the roster cut date, and we're going to talk about the 53, and we're going to talk about potential needs, potential pickups that the Texans are probably going to address with that high waiver claim that they have. But first off, let's talk about the 53. Or do you want to talk about the cuts? Let's go ahead and talk about the cuts first. And let's go ahead and bring that list of transactions that the Houston Texans made. And let's go ahead and kind of break that down.
So I think if we wanted to go kind of by position just real quick, sure. Some of the people's knight in shining armor, Jeff Driscoll was cut. Mm-hmm. So, we moved on from I think I saw someone say that Jeff Driscoll was the preseason MVP.
He actually was.
Hey, no. So, but we can go down position. Let me just kind of run down the list of players cut, and then we can go through the position group and see how it rolls from there. But just the wave players, you got Graylin Arnold, shocker, Jalen Camp, Drew Estrada, Jacoby Francis, Seth Green, Johnny Johnson III, Tristan McCollum, Jimmy Morrissey, Adedeo Odele, Paul Quisenberry, Max Sharping, hallelujah, thank you. Jordan Steckler, Trevor Wallace Sims, Connor Weddington. Those were the initial players, and then we have the release players: Anthony Auclair, Terrence Brooks, not surprised, Chris Conley, that was a surprise. Jeff Driscoll, the great Jeff Driscoll, Damon Harris, Marlon Mack, the surprise of the litter, and Cedric Ogbuehi, Kevin Pierre-Louis, Mason Schreck, Isaac Yiadom. That was a shock too. And they also waived injured Kendall Sheffield. They put on the injured reserve Derek Rivers. And they traded, breaking news, they traded Ross Blacklock to the Minnesota Vikings.
For a bag of chips.
For a bag of chips and a can of Big Red.
Yeah.
And so they also placed Tegan Quitoriano on the short-term IR. So he is going to be missing presumably the first 4 weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. So, what do you guys want to talk about as far as the players? Let's talk about the position group. We can go by offense and then defense. Offense, they let go of Jeff Driscoll. I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. No need to kind of go into that. Running back, they let go of Marlon Mack, which means that your running back group right now consists of Rex Burkhead, Dari, I can't pronounce his name.
Agumbawale,
Dari Agumbawale, Damian Pierce. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised that they kept Royce Freeman.
Yeah.
So, we can talk about Marlon Mack for a second. What do you guys, how was your reaction to Marlon Mack getting cut?
I just really, I just definitely didn't expect it, because I think the media and other people kind of gave us this idea that Marlon Mack, he was kind of getting another shot at being a starter. You know what I'm saying? He was getting his second shot, and the Texans were that team to offer him to do that, right? You know what I'm saying? And so for some reason, I think kind of the vibe with Marlon Mack was more of okay, he's coming in to start. He's going to be the guy. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're bringing him in for. And for him to go from that to not making the 53, that's the biggest shock, right? Like that's the biggest like what the hell is like what was their plan for him then? You know what I'm saying? Is just another guy? That's weird, you know? And then I guess, you know, something I kind of just realized is we're keeping Roy Freeman over Marlon Mack. You know, it's like I
Yeah.
think at least Marlon Mack is a little bit more talented than Royce Freeman, right? But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty shocking because I don't know about y'all, but I mean, Royce Freeman kind of was underwhelming. I mean, they damn near was playing him at fullback, I think, at the ends of games, and
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
but I just wonder, is I wonder, is it like just like a kind of like a, how do I say this, like a, I guess what they view in a running back, like maybe there's maybe that they didn't feel like you know Mac was like fit, I guess, like their size profile, I guess, and Royce Freeman did. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they felt like if they're gonna go someone that's a little bit, on the lighter side, that they should have a little bit more burst, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that's all. I mean, I just can't really figure a way to rationalize it because I mean, shit. When we went to training camp, I mean, I think I seen him fumble the ball each day I was there. He didn't really play particularly well in camp, so I mean, I'm kind of shocked because I thought it was gonna be a situation like, although it seemed like Matt, was still kind of just getting used to playing football again, and I thought maybe at some point it was gonna be during like the regular season where he looked comfortable again, but he didn't get that chance to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of like maybe we'll touch on this later in the episode too, but like we did have Freeman making the 53 and when we predicted the 53, like the way too early 53 man roster,
Mm-hmm.
our running back room was Pierce, Mack, Burkhead, and Freeman.
Yeah, it's
For,
just
for what it's worth.
it's very confusing because I mean, I just don't understand like why. I mean, I don't know too much about Dare, but like I just don't. I mean, is Mac that bad right now? You know.
So I have a theory, but I'm gonna save that theory to the end of not the end, but later on in the episode. I think I have a theory on the reasoning behind the Royce Freeman still being on the roster and the theory about the 17 linebackers we have on the 53 roster. So
Okay,
we
okay.
we can move on to the wide receiver room. We let go of Johnny Johnson, Jalen Camp, um, Chris Conley. I was surprised that Chris Conley, but I think that him not being able to locate the football
Oh,
um, kind of sealed his fate. Um, so you know him running, short on third down, not at least to the sticks. Those little small details you would expect more from a 9-year veteran. I think he's 9-year, right? 9-year veteran.
Something
You
like
yeah.
would
that.
expect more from him than what the hell you got. Um, so it's at this point, it's like, okay. And I think people were kind of clamoring, well, Texan fans were clamoring for Chris Conley to kind of be moved. But that leaves your wide receiver room with Nico Collins, Brandon Cooks, Philip Dorsett, and Chris Moore. That is your receiver room at this point in time, which leads me to believe that Nick Casario is going to go ham on the waiver wire. He sees who he wants. He kind of notified, or identified who he wants to pick up, especially since we have the third priority. So, do you guys have any thoughts on the receiver position as far as like who we could and who we have right now?
So, uh, yeah, I mean, I think the obvious choice is like the guy from the Buccaneers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's. But really, when I'm looking at the wide receiver group, I do like the four dudes that we kept. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying? Like I like Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, Philip Dorsett, Chris Moore. Like that is literally the best of the bunch. Y'all mind if I keep comparing it to the way too early 53 we did?
Yeah, it's
good.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So like whenever we did the way too early 53, we chose six receivers. right? We went with 6 receivers, and it's pretty funny. I mean, we went with Mechie, Cooks, Collins, Hamilton, Dorsett, and Conley. I mean, goddamn, like, wouldn't it be nice to have a healthy Hamilton as an option right now?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And it wouldn't surprise me that if he gets healthy at some point during the season,
We go
and
and snag him.
they may pull the trigger and bring him back.
So, yeah, we ended up with 3 of those correct. For some reason, we felt that Conley was going to get the nod over Chris Moore, but I don't think at the time I realized that Chris Moore was like one of the best special teams players in the NFL last year.
I know I did.
Yeah. I think, Leo, I could even recall you kind of pounding the table for Chris Moore over Conley. But
no, I'm saying I know I did not. If I was pounding the table for Chris Moore, it was. I mean, I didn't know he was good at special teams like that. Like,
okay. I do remember you saying like that we might keep Chris Moore over Conley though.
Oh, wow.
And I think we were kind of talking about how Chris Moore is a little bit more of a versatile receiver.
Yeah.
Can play inside out, kind of, right?
Yeah, and I think the logic for keeping Conley at that point is that we didn't have any other bigger receivers. Like you had Cooks, Hamilton, Mechie, and I think the deciding factor between those two was because you didn't have any other bigger receivers. Dorsett, everybody was these small receivers, and you couldn't, go down without a bigger receiver. But, I think we're at a point now, so that, kind of see what you're trying to do.
It needs to be addressed. It does. It needs to be addressed. But Leo, go ahead.
Nah, man. I mean, it's definitely bare. I mean, this is like one of the worst receiving corps in the NFL, man. You know
what? I feel good about Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins as a 1 and a 2. I do. For this team right now, you know what I'm saying? And I even feel like it's an upgrade over last season. You know what I'm saying? Like just having the same 2 guys, it's an upgrade. And having Dorsett stick around. I thought he was a good, viable deep threat last year. And Chris Moore caught some great passes, right? Okay. The area I think we need to address, and I'd love to see what y'all think, isn't just that we need to add a receiver to the bottom. We need to add a receiver that goes above Dorsett, like on a depth chart.
Yeah.
Like that's where we need to add. We don't need a second receiver. We don't need that. Mm-hmm. We need the third receiver, like whether they can play outside and take, a couple reps off of Brandon Cook's, workload, you know what I'm saying? Or whether they can play the slot or something like that. I think you have to get a third receiver.
Yeah. And there are a few guys that I'm thinking they could come in. I know we talked about Tyler Johnson, but I think Keelan Cole, another guy that could come in and be very productive. People aren't talking about it. Lynn Bowden Jr. is another one that
is he? So he got cut.
Yeah, Keelan Cole got cut. He was with the Jets last year, and they signed with, I forgot who it was that he signed.
He was with
the Raiders. Yeah, and they cut him. And then you got Lynn Bowden Jr. from the Dolphins. He's available. And Tyler Johnson from the Bucks. I was hoping it was the other one. I was hoping it was what's number 2's name?
Who?
Yeah, the burner.
Yeah, Scotty Miller.
Yeah,
I was hoping it was Scotty Miller, but they, I guess Tom Brady has an affinity for Scotty Miller, so. But yeah, I mean that's the receiver room, and let's go. We'll talk more about that. We'll go ahead and go with the tight end room, and right now we said we wanted to run 2 tight end sets, and we got enough to run a 2 tight end set. We have 2 tight ends on this roster: Pharaoh Brown and Brevin Jordan. They released Seth Green. They cut Anthony Auclair. They put on short-term IR Tegan Quitoriano. Tight end has been something that everybody's been talking about, but we for damn sure know that they are going to address tight end. They tried to address tight end via trade with Adam Shaheen, so it kind of tipped their hand that they are going to find at least 1 to 2 tight ends in this waiver wire period.
Mm.
So what do you guys thoughts about, the release and everything like that?
The the prediction that we did in the way too early 53-man roster is we had Brevin Jordan, Auclair, and Pharaoh Brown,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just running it back with our three tight ends that we had last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was surprising that Auclair got cut, but like he's very injured apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm saying. And then TQ I thought played well, but
Mm-hmm.
not well enough for us to not need to claim something off the waiver wire or like go and get a veteran tight end that
Right.
gives you something. It just gives you something, right? It's a very scary and like dangerous position to be in at that position right now because, you know, hopefully Pharaoh Brown is in better shape than he was last year because he apparently played at like 280 or something, like or something ridiculous that they were saying. That's
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he played at 280. I think they were saying some bullshit because this year he's going to try to look like he can actually run. You know what I'm saying? But like Brevin Jordan was just doing some bonehead shit every
Yeah.
game, and I mean, AD, you said it perfectly. He legitimately regressed this
Yeah.
year.
And
I,
people, I got posed with a question today on Space about Brevin Jordan. How did he regress? Well, yeah, he didn't put up a lot of stats last year, but just physical play on the field, he's regressed. He came in as a certified pass catcher. He was basically going to be a glorified slot tight end,
Mm-hmm.
kind of in a Mike Gesicki role, just not as good blocker.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But just watching him in training camp, watching him in the preseason games, the blocking hasn't shown any improvement. He's still a liability there. And he also has been dropping the ball and just making simple errors and mistakes. Like it's just like they tell you to go on a out route or a swing route out, and you can't even run. You're stumbling over your feet. You can't even make a play. Like that play, I think that was against the Rams, if I'm not mistaken, where he had an out route. Davis Mills hit him, and he stumbled across his feet, and he couldn't even get up 2 yards up the field.
he's
It's
way
like,
too in his head.
yeah,
He's thinking about the game way too much.
that is regression in the fact that you're supposed to be at this level. They've already proclaimed you a starting tight end. This was your opportunity to be confident and take that next step. And I don't see it. I don't see him separating. I don't see him, you know, improving, his craft. I made a comment. I don't know if I said it on the pod or if I said it in the space that even TQ before practice and after practice was out early before everybody working on his drills, on his stance and blocking and everything like that, and was doing the same thing after practice. At this point in time, you can't get complacent and feel like you've arrived already. And I feel like that's what happened with Brevin Jordan. He feels like he's arrived, and that is a problem when you didn't do anything your rookie year to validate you arriving. And he doesn't do any of the small things or little things, not to public knowledge. And just based on, him dropping wide open passes that hit him right in the middle of number 9, just making simple mistakes. You know that your targets are going to be limited anyway as a tight end. Take advantage of it, especially in the preseason when you're not playing the whole game. Take advantage of it and make a statement. And that's what I was hoping from Brevin Jordan, and he faltered. That's why I use the term he's regressed. And I think that's another reason why they're going to go kind of tight end crazy, at least bringing in 2 tight ends to maybe even replace Brevin Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, yeah, I kind of feel like I feel like people kind of was kind of trying to crown him like
Yeah.
a little bit too soon. And honestly, like when you listen to people talk about him, you damn near would think he was like Shannon Sharp or some shit. You know what I mean? And honestly, I just went back and just looked at his athletic profile, and he's not like I know it's like I mean, what is a 40 time matter, but he's not as fast as I thought he was. He didn't test as like, when you think about a smaller athletic tight end that's gonna be doing all the shit that people act like he was gonna be able to do, you would think you would see some freakish type, like some Delaney Walker type numbers. And he's not that kind of an athlete, you know what I mean? Obviously it's his second year, so it's not like the story is written on him. But I mean, I'm kind of getting to the point where you know maybe if you have like I mean, he might just be a third tight end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, you know, and I mean, and I don't think there's any shame in that necessarily. Like it's just but I mean, when I think about like a true like number one tight end, like I'm thinking like a Kelsey or like like a guy that has like size. You know what I mean? Even if they aren't a good blocker, they have the size and the ability to run. You know what I'm saying? And jump up and get the ball. And he doesn't. He's just. It's just very very interesting. Size and like just wondering like what is his actual place like in this offense. And just
If
in
he,
general.
yeah, if he's not out there snagging shit and getting open,
And running away from people.
and then what is his role?
Yeah, because he's not gonna dominate you. He's not gonna be a dominant block. He's not, and
Right.
And really, Pharaoh Brown isn't either.
yeah.
And that's what I think they're going to kind of look at because people want the name. That's what I hate about this whole waiver wire and everything like that. People don't go and research the players. All they do is they go by, oh, I know this name. So
Mm-hmm.
I want this name because this name is something that's familiar to me.
OJ Howard.
Yeah, OJ Howard. They love OJ Howard. They want OJ Howard and this, and that. And OJ Howard, there's a reason why Tampa Bay gave up on OJ Howard. Buffalo, presumably has given up on OJ, even though there's word that he's going to resign. But OJ Howard is kind of being passed over right now. And it to me it was no reason to cut OJ Howard if you're going to resign him, especially with him making that minimum salary that he was making in Buffalo. It's not like you're going to sign him to a lower contract. He was only making $3 million, so it's not like he was making an exorbitant amount of money. So it's some things it's just like, okay, you want OJ Howard, that's fine and dandy, but there's a reason why that if he was touted as highly talented and everything wants to give excuses saying it's mental, is this and that, it's more to it than that. It's physical play too, because you don't get if it's a mental block, I think they can be like, okay, he has the talent. It's just something going on. Well, let's find a way, to kind of get him through it. But that's me personally. I don't represent the masses with OJ Howard. I represent the minority with
Well,
with
I
OJ.
mean, the interesting thing, I mean, he hasn't had any like serious injuries, so he can still fucking run and jump and all that shit. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, my thing is like he had a good rookie in the sophomore year, right? And then
He didn't really have a good rookie year, I don't think.
I mean, he got like 600 yards. I mean,
Mm.
let me see. Let me make sure before I start talking. Shit. Well, yeah, okay. So his rookie, I mean, he got 400 yards, 6 touchdowns, then 550, 5 touchdowns, and then he kind of just started regressing. And then I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he couldn't beat Braid out. You know what I mean? And to me,
Couldn't beat Brady, yeah.
that's kind of like the biggest like thing is like what happened there. To where like I mean, because when you think about how gifted he is, I mean, he's like, I mean, I bet you if you were to look at his RAS score, it would probably be fucking insane. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because he like ran like a 4.5, 4.6, six
Yeah.
foot six. You know what I'm saying? 255 pounds. I'm pretty sure he got like a 35-inch vertical. And I mean, so like when a guy like that can't beat out Cameron Brate, I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
So
why can't you beat out Brate?
that's one of the biggest questions. And then I got a comment And this is my thing. People say, let's bring him in. Let's go get him. He's gonna work out here. Yet and still, you have a majority or you have a population in the fan base that critiques Pep Hamilton to the point where he's not that good of coach. He's not, his system is not proven. It's, this and that. So if you say that about Pep Hamilton and you don't believe in Pep Hamilton, why would OJ Howard work here? Why would he work for the Houston Texans when he didn't work for a Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers team
Yeah.
and a Super Bowl contending team Buffalo Bills team? If he couldn't work for those type of teams, why would he work for a Houston Texan team, which population of fans don't believe in the coaching staff? They don't believe. It's a population that don't believe in Lovie Smith, that don't believe in Pep Hamilton, that don't believe in any of their philosophies or anything they're trying to do. They feel like it's outdated. They have all these different comments and concerns and questions and everything like that. But then yet again, we're going to bring in a player, and yeah, he's going to work on the Houston Texans when he didn't work at these other spots, and it just doesn't make sense. So,
Well, I mean, it just kind of goes to that shit. Like it's like, I mean, they're just looking for like a new ride to ride. That's how I'll say that. You know what I mean? Like looking for a new jersey to buy. You know what I'm saying? Something to be excited for like 3 weeks or 1.5 weeks until you know what I'm saying the lights come on and he's out there just underachieving again. And not only is he underachieving, he's being a jackass in the locker room. He's just being a fucking problem. And I mean, so like that's I think the thing, and that's why like it's not like the whole Chris Conley argument and all that shit. Like it's not that I'm necessarily saying you can find a talent like Chris Conley. I mean, he's been pretty much like a average receiver pretty much his whole career, right? But I mean, like my thing is that like to get someone that works in a rebuild, you know, I would like to see them get a guy that they won't have to cut in the middle of the season and then get another guy that they might have to cut in the middle of the season. I would like them to just get someone that's mentally fucking stable that could at least be average and just go and just make it through because like let's just be honest. I know I'm taking it back to the receiver shit, but like we're talking about, and I'll tie it into tight ends. Like we're talking about a guy that really raises the ceiling of the room. You know what I'm saying? That like ultimately, you know what I'm saying, if we like the truth is that
or at least establishes the median.
Yeah, yeah. But like the problem is that like we just need to get more talent. And I mean, you know, like yeah, Tyler Johnson, these guys that we talk about can't be that third receiver. But if he's your third receiver, does that still make this like an actual dangerous receiving core? You know what I'm saying? We need more talent there. You know what I'm saying? So in reality, like these guys are gonna be your fourth and fifth, well, really like fifth receiver, damn near. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying when the team gets back, because like Mechie isn't on that list. You know what I'm saying? You draft a receiver in the first or second round, they're gonna be on that list too. You know what I'm saying? High on the list. So like, there's that. And then like, as far as the tight end position, like, you know what I'm saying? Same thing. If you draft a guy in the first 3 rounds, they're gonna be hopefully, I pray to God that they can be at least the number 2 tight end. At least, hopefully they can start, right? You know what I mean? So like I think to me again, like I think that you should swing. You have to make very calculated swings because I think the goal should be to like just realistically like just get someone that's stable enough to just get through this fucking season.
yeah, just looking through the tight end, free agent list and everything available tight ends, it's not attractive. I mean, Eric Ebron, is somebody if you want a veteran, he's available. Blake Jarwin, former Dallas tight end, he's available.
That might
These
be a good
guys,
pickup.
huh?
I said that might be a good pickup, honestly.
Right. And they were free agents. So
Mhm.
you're not even talking about waiver wire pickups. These guys are free agents. They weren't even on teams. OJ Howard, Jesse James,
Mhm.
former Pittsburgh tight end,
I
Devin.
mean,
Huh?
every one of them would come in here and like basically start.
Right. And what is this? Devin Asasi
Mm-hmm.
from New England. He is a free agent as well. You're talking about Jeremy Sprinkle from Dallas. He's a free agent. Michael Pruitt. That name used to ring a bell. Former Tennessee tight end. He's
Mm-hmm.
available. Ryan Izzo. He was here for a hot second. He's available. And then I think Devin Funches is a guy that he intrigues me because I feel like he is what people think Brevin Jordan can be.
Mm-hmm.
He is a big body, former receiver, can catch the ball, doesn't have an issue with that, can play, can run the routes. It's just the blocking was an issue with him, which probably ultimately led to him being cut from Detroit. But I think if you can bring a Devin Funches in along with, one of these other guys, I think your tight end room will kind of be solidified. And I think Funches will kind of, maybe by middle of the season, Funches will be your starting receiving tight end. And now you have a former receiver playing tight end. So now that's a weapon that you can kind of use, for the team. So I think that's something those are options we can talk about or we can
Yeah, and I
explore.
think, man, bro, that's like a really, like, honestly, man, that's probably about the highest upside thing there. You know what I'm saying? So shit, I mean, I'd be down for that shit, you know.
Right. And so, those are just different options, but we talked about the tight end to the extent, because this to me, I think that's one of the biggest concerns of the fan base and of the team, especially with how they want to operate and run the ball and operate with under two tight end sets. So you need the depth behind there. Um, so that is an important position. I think that is just kind of mishandled. I feel like they mishandled that position.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move on to the offensive line.
Hey, just real quick, let's just touch on Troy Harrison real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the fullback. The guy came in undrafted free agent, Troy Harrison. Was it Montana State? I think he
And he was a defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
defensive end from Montana State. Is that his correct school? I don't want to misquote
Yeah,
his.
yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
so. I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
So that was surprising. But it was surprising in a sense that he came on the way he came on because he was a project and
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't expected to kind of make the roster. I think they brought him in and expected him to kind of just go through the motions and then, eventually find a place for him on practice squad. But he played his ass off. He
Yeah,
practiced
man.
his ass off and he played his ass off in these games. And what solidified him was his play in special teams and
Mm-hmm.
kick coverage and punt return coverage and making tackles and running with his hair on fire down the field. Those things catches coaches' attention. And especially if you're playing fullback, that's what you need for sure. That fullback has to be a vital part of your special teams because he's going to be doing a lot of special teams.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Troy Harrison, proved himself and he is not afraid to hit anybody, so that's the exciting part about it. But go ahead,
I,
Beth.
I think fullback is always just a great position that I love to see because when I was at Atascocita, I played fullback and Kent Brooks was our running back. He ended up being a really good safety for the University of Houston, and it was just so cool because I felt like our running game was so good and we had a great left guard, right? And so I'm thinking about this in a sense like it's like, oh shit, like they got Kenyon Green from Atascocita, and then now we got Troy Harrison as this badass fullback, and then we got Damian Pierce, and it's like this trio of rookies who are gonna like revamp the running game for the Texans this season. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's like exciting for me, but also like seeing the way Harrison is used as a fullback, or the way he plays it, I should say, is he just gets out of his stance so fast and like gets up to his block with like such, I guess, anticipation. It's like great. It's a great combination for Damian Pierce, but also what I observed kind of whenever we went single back with like a heavy set on the line, we
Mm-hmm.
were playing the fullback as the third tight end.
Mm-hmm.
It was always either Paul Quesenberry or Janovich or Hairston
Mm-hmm.
on the line, like in line. You know what I'm saying? And so, maybe that's why we feel a little bit encouraged to only have two right now, but it's not going to stay that way, I think, obviously. But, anyways, we can jump over to offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, moving on, we had the cuts of Trevor Wallace Sims, Jordan Steckler, Cedric Ogwehe. Those guys I think were kind of end of the roster. Jimmy Morrissey
Mm-hmm.
got cut as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those were kind of guys we were expecting to get cut, but it leaves you with Austin Deculus as your and Charlie Heck as your tackles, which kind of eliminates the thought of the swing tackle option, and it kind of makes me nervous because you don't have a true left tackle. Because I don't know if Austin Deculus is a left tackle, and Charlie Heck did not look great at left tackle. So it kind of makes me wonder, what is the plan? But you can't. Austin Deculus played his way on this roster, and Charlie Heck, to me, I think he's one of the glue pieces of the offensive line at this point. And you still have Scott Quisenberry as the center, Justin McCray, reserve guard. So you got 4 reserve offensive linemen, and your starters with Britt, Tunsil, Titus, and Kenyon Green and AJ Cann. So I mean, I think they're pretty much set and solidified at the offensive line. As much as Kenyon Green showed out in that game against the 49ers and kind of on national TV and kind of proved himself to be, be who he thought he would be.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you guys' thoughts on the offensive line moving forward?
I just feel like we could still push the ceiling a little bit with the offensive line. I guess I feel pretty encouraged by watching the depth that we have. I guess, Scott Quesenberry is probably the biggest depth piece that stands out to me, just because I feel like he legitimately played well at center. Like I thought he actually did good. Like he was playing good.
Mm-hmm.
Justin McCray doesn't do anything for me. I saw him getting smoked most of the time. Leo, you've actually said you think the starting offensive tackles could be Howard at left tackle and Charlie Heck at right tackle, and I agree. Like
Mm-hmm.
that like we probably could do that and be almost in the same position. Like we could basically be, I'm saying, like in the same exact spot, right? I like that Deculus made the team because I think legitimately he's a good tackle. Like he's good. He should be a backup tackle in the NFL, like forever. You know what I'm saying? But that's just what I think. One of the players that I really liked was just released from Miami. I think he was like a third or a fourth rounder, offensive guard. I forget Solomon Thomas, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I think was that a damn
think
ESPN announcer or some shit?
I think Solomon Thomas played defensive tackle or some shit.
Hold on,
He says another one. Let me see.
I'll find it. I'll find it and mention it to you guys. But you go ahead, Leo.
I mean, I think we pretty much called this pretty much. I think. I know. Obviously, we called the top 5. You know what I'm saying? I know we called Hick, and I think the only difference that I know off the top of my brain was just Austin Deculus. I think we thought that he would possibly be on like the practice squad. I think. But yeah, I mean, the tackle spot is probably like the best. You know what I'm saying? Position we have. On offense, I guess like throughout. You know what I mean? Uh, but yeah, I mean, obviously, I think at the guard spot and the center spot, obviously, like it's going to be interesting to see how they address that, or if they could. I know people were talking about Alec Lindstrom. You know what I'm saying, and
Solomon
Yeah.
Solomon Kinley.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Solomon Kinley was a pretty good right guard as a rookie.
Mhm.
And I think could do much better than the
Yeah.
depth we have. But go ahead.
And I think that Leo brought the name of Alec Lindstrom. I really do want to see if they're going to be able to bring him in. Um, because he's a guy that can kind of, I think if you bring him in, you can do what Jimmy Morrissey couldn't do, which was progress and kind of be able to take over that center spot. Um, I think that was the plan with Jimmy Morrissey, was to bring him in off the Raiders practice squad. He has a lot of talent, a lot of potential. Let's see what he can do. And I think they're going to do that with Jim. I mean, they could do that with Alec Lindstrom, is bring him in and see what he can do, and kind of hopefully eventually take over that spot next year from Justin Britt.
Yeah, and I think that would, like how I think we always, a lot of people talk about um being able to draft BPA. It would put you in a position to where, like, I mean, even if, let's say, like, we come up to bat and, like, there's like a goddamn Creed Humphrey, Landon Dickerson type of motherfucker there. You know what I'm saying? Obviously it doesn't necessarily deter you from taking that, but I mean, even if, what I'm saying, he ends up being like a backup center for you, what I'm saying, or a developmental starter for you. Like, I mean, that's a damn good, talk about improving your roster. I mean, finding that in the waiver wire can be like, great, you know what I mean? And I think one of the things that the Texans should, like, and I know this is something we preach up until draft day, is that we should be like, always wanting to improve the offensive line, always wanting to have an elite offensive line. And I think, if you can capitalize off of something like this, and, what I'm saying, like, it gives you a solid, solid baseline, what I'm saying, to continue to build off of, So I think every option that they have, they should, like, really look into and see if it could help them, set them up to be more successful in the long run, for sure. I think the offensive line is in a going into this season. I think we're in a much better spot, assuming that Tunsil plays more than 3 games. You know what I mean? So, but even not because, I mean, we have Green. But I mean, still, you would hope that you would hope.
It was crazy to see when, like Green's emergence. When they put him in, he was
Immediately
fucking murder. He was just. I mean,
He didn't
there
have,
was
he
there was
wasn't
no
shot.
competition. It was no competition.
Yeah,
He was the best. He
it
was the best
wasn't
lineman
any,
on the field. Go
yeah,
ahead.
it wasn't any shock or oh, he got blown up or he was surprised or anything. And I think that's because of the level of talent that he's had to play against consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And the Alabamas of the world, the LSUs of the world, the Auburns of the world. These teams have always produced ridiculous defensive tackles and defensive ends and linemen in general. And I think that has prepared him. Like, you're not going to get surprised by a freaking Charles Omenihu, from San Francisco. Even Kinlaw, he played against Kinlaw at A&M. So it's not like he hasn't seen Kinlaw before. So those type of players, like, even though they, in their pro bodies and they're ready, it's not a shock, and it didn't surprise me at all. And I think it's just more to come, man. He's gonna be a load, and I think he's gonna end up being the best. It's gonna be a stretch to say this, but I think he may potentially be the best offensive lineman coming out of the draft this past year. I know we
Yeah,
got Evan Neal and what's his name?
Icky Aquan.
Ike Ikwanu, and what's the guys from Boston College?
Yeah, the center.
No, not Linderbaum, but I'm not talking about Linderbaum. I'm talking about the guard Jordan.
Yeah,
I mean Zion Johnson. Yeah.
yeah.
I think he's going to end up being the consistent Pro Bowl, the consistent All Pro,
Yeah.
solidifying the offensive line, especially if he can create the holes he created, for a now cut Marlon Mack. who hadn't made any strides or any plays, worth the damn. And as soon as Kenyon Green gets in the game, he busts a damn near 40-yard run. So he is a proven player at this point. I think he solidifies your offensive line going forward. And I feel a lot more confident in the offensive line between Kenyon Green, Larry Tunsil and Titus Howard instead of, even though Britt and Can are questionable, extremely questionable, but I think they solidified if 3/5 of your line is solidified, you're going to have a pretty decent offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think even with if God forbid we had to lose, Tunsil, or we had to lose Titus or something like that, I legitimately think Charlie Heck is a good
Tackle, yeah.
tackle. I feel like Charlie Heck has kind of replaced what we're missing now. In it Christensen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Garyon Christian.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Christian, yeah. Yeah, who I thought was a great offensive tackle for us last year or 2 years ago. I
Yeah,
don't know. But yeah. Yeah, and so now I truly feel like that, Charlie Heck has replaced him essentially, but I mean with less of a left tackle presence. I thought AJ Cam played well too. I know he played a lot, but I thought he played well. For me to feel good about it. I mean, he didn't look like he was getting smoked like whenever Ross Blacklock, God forbid, was destroying him when he played for the Jaguars, right? But then I think the last thing is when I was scrolling back through Jason Braddock's Twitter, it reminded me that when they were playing Austin Deculus at left tackle, he had mentioned they probably feel great about him playing right tackle. And so they were just like, hey, can you go do the same thing on the left side? And so really the only time you saw Austin Deculus get his ass kicked was against old boy that used to be on the Texans. A minute you off the left side. And he was like, that's the only time you heard Austin Deculus' name called all preseason. Because the dude was just so solid,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean that could be like a real sneaky pick. I mean, you're talking about a guy, 4-year starter. You feel 4-year starter from LSU, national championship team, best college offense like ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I don't want to move on from the offensive line without talking about, Max Sharping. Max Sharping has been Turnstile Max. Turnstile Max is finally been released. I think that experiment has kind of gone awry, and I'm glad he's finally, off the Houston Texans roster. So I know I was listing other players, and I knew I missed Max Sharping, so I was like, I can't go without saying that, the Houston Texans are finally past the Max Sharping era. Moving on to defensive line, another controversial player in this, atmosphere of Houston Texan, in this, area or era of Houston Texan football. Ross Blacklock.
Who?
Yes, I'm gonna say it. Sorry ass Ross Blacklock.
Damn.
Was traded from the Houston Texans to the Minnesota Vikings for a 6th round pick. And I think they traded a 7th, if I'm not mistaken, or it was conflicting reports that they got 2 picks or they pick swapped for Ross. So it's kind of confused on what is true. Not, Aaron Wilson tweeted one thing, John McClain tweeted another. I think at this point it really doesn't matter. Ross Blacklock is off this team, and we for sure got a 6th round pick back in that situation. So I'm kind of elated that we finally moved on from the enigma that was Ross Blacklock, who couldn't beat out a 6th round rookie last year and couldn't beat out an undrafted rookie this year. Kind of lets you know the talent. I sent my cousin a text who's a Vikings fan. I said, thank you for taking Ross Blacklock. He said, so I'm assuming that means he's not good. So and just what I just said was the fact that he got You know, all you need to know is he got beat out by a 6-round rookie last year, and he got beat out by an undrafted rookie, passed on the depth chart by an undrafted rookie this year. So that's all you need to know about Ross Blacklock, um, a former 2nd-round pick. He's going to be infamous. I can't even say it. Infamous, because he was picked one pick in front of Jonathan Taylor, who led the league in rushing last year and is a horse of a running back. So, you know, he's going to be always tied to that. And he greatly disappointed, and I'm greatly happy he's moved on from the team. Moving on, they also released on the defensive line, Adeo, um, the international player. They released him. They put Derek Rivers, who had an outstanding preseason, on IR. He tore his labrum. He's going to be out for a while. And I'm trying to think of the other cuts because it wasn't much cuts as far as the defensive line, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go down the list again. We traded Ross Blacklock. We put Derek Rivers on an IR. Damone Harris, that was somebody I thought had an outside chance of making a roster.
Mm-hmm.
That was the other defensive lineman that got released. He was a hybrid. Inside, he played some D tackle and he played DN. But I think they were more than happy with what the defensive line provided with Addison, with Hughes, with Renard, with Green, with Heinisch, with Booker, with Lopez, with Collins, and Dwanfor, who showed him, showed himself and showed his ass. So, hey, I'm content. It's not really much to talk about the cuts because those guys were kind of lower level players. But what are you guys' thoughts on the defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, I knew one of these damn undrafted free agent defensive tackles were gonna make it. I just didn't know it was going to be the white guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we thought Heinisch was too small to make it, man. We thought
I mean, and shit. I mean, Heinisch is basically playing exactly how I thought Damian Daniels would pan out. You know, he always eating up double teams, but when they asked him to shoot a gap, I mean,
getting back there, bro.
Y'all saw the Baldy breakdowns of Kurt Heinisch's plays. And he's using the shoulder. I mean, he's getting himself skinny through the gaps. But then, I mean, he was also doing some. What was that defensive tackle that came out of Alabama that was like 6'7", 320 pounds?
Oh, Davis.
Yeah. Okay. You remember the highlights of him grabbing 2 Georgia offensive linemen and just like holding them up?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? I mean, I straight up saw Heinisch doing like Walgreens version of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Eating up 2 offensive linemen like it was just nothing and still pushing the line. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, bro, he will have no problem playing the Lopez role from last year, legitimately. And I think he could do it on a starting roster, no problem. Right? Mm-hmm. You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Sean Cody.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was undersized too. And he played a nose tackle. So and let me say this about the defensive tackles, along with Heinisch, the fact that you can rotate guys now, I think that was the issue last year with the defensive tackle room is that Lopez and I'm about to call Blacklock, Lopez and Collins were so relied upon and they played so much and they didn't have that rotation piece because you didn't have anybody outside of Ross Blacklock who couldn't come in and play because he was so bad. So you couldn't if you had him out there, you had to limit how long he was out there. So you had to play Malik Collins and Roy Lopez ridiculous amount of time. I think that they're going to be improved because they're not going to be playing as much. I think that Dwanfor and Heinisch for sure can come in and kind of give you a little relief, at least 2 or 3 series worth of relief, where that starting defensive tackle group is not playing every freaking down, every freaking play.
Yeah. And I mean, when you think about like the talent we have, like that's kind of how you're going to have to play. I mean, we're going to have to rotate and make sure everybody's fresh because we don't necessarily have like, you know what I'm saying, a real hog anywhere. You know what I'm saying? We have a bunch of guys that are good, you know what I'm saying, but like we don't have like a real just boss, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So yeah, I mean depth. Didn't Lovey say he wanted to keep 10 to 11 D linemen? Or am I just making that up? That no. So
Yeah,
we
10.
kept 10. So yeah, man. I think the emergence of, like you were saying, bro, like uh the emergence of Highness, bro. I mean, he played really, really good, you know, phenomenal in the preseason, man. And you know, so um I think, you know, it just looked real physical, man. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be good to see them all, like see him and you know what I'm saying, see what him and Malik Collins can do. You know what I mean?
It was pretty obvious what the group was going to be,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty obvious what the group was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, so AD, you want to keep it rolling? Um, let's keep it rolling. Let's get over
Yeah.
to the
Let's talk
what
about the 17 linebackers. Let's talk about that they kept everybody except Kevin Pierre-Louis.
Hey
And,
Davis, yeah.
and now here comes my theory that they keeping certain players. You're keeping more than what you originally had or thought they were going to carry. I think they're going to take some of those players. You know, I think Jake Hansen, I think Neville Hewitt, I think who is another guy? I'm trying to think of another linebacker we have that should be let go. Um, but
Never.
for sure, but I think we're carrying right now 9 linebackers.
Reeves Maven, did you say him?
Reeves, Maben, you know, like I don't think you should be carrying 9 linebackers ever on any roster. So I think that they're going to use at least 3 of those linebackers to release and bring in, you know, waiver wire players and corresponding moves.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the same goes for Royce Freeman. I think Royce Freeman is on this roster as a placeholder. And I think they're gonna, if they're gonna upgrade the running back room, they're gonna have to to move on from Royce Freeman. So that's my theory, is that these some of these guys that have made it, even the offensive line, I think either Quisenberry, I don't think it's McCray, but I think Quisenberry may be a casualty if they're able to upgrade the offensive line.
All right.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are the things that, you know, I see. That's my theory with it, but yeah, it's just a ridiculous amount of linebackers. Most of them play well. I would have cut Neville Hewitt first before I cut Kevin Pierre-Louis. But it's something that they love or see about Neville Hewitt that they want. Neville Hewitt is probably the only true Mike on this linebacker core.
Mm-hmm.
I think me and Leo were talking about it, how, you know, if you watch the film, you don't see Kamu or Kirksey playing Mike, you know, or if you see a Mike, it's more Kamu than it is Kirksey. So these are things that I think they're going to address, and I think it kind of is a testament to Christian Harris. That may be a corresponding move. Hopefully, it's not, but that may be a short-term IR corresponding move to get you another player. So, you know, it's a lot of different things that could happen. But Garrett Wallow, another one, could be a short-term IR stint corresponding move. So you have a lot of variables that are in play with the linebacker position. But what are y'all thoughts about the linebackers?
Man, I love the linebacker group in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love the linebacker group in general. Um, it's so funny to like go. This is the first instance where our way too early 53 is just in absolute shambles, right? So we have Harris and Kirksey and Camus and Pierre Lewis making it, and Reeves, Maben, and Cashman. And then we put Wallow and Hanson on the practice squad, and I'm like, okay, wait, Wallow's going to come in and outplay, you know, you know, all of these, pretty much all of these guys, right?
Right.
So, you know, I like the idea of trying to store Hanson on the 53 right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And hope that everyone they obviously like Hanson, and it's a Lovie Smith guy. Like Lovie Smith has seen him all through college, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are probably hoping that they can keep Hanson on the 53 until the massive influx of signing players off of waiver claims is over, so that when they want to move him to the practice squad, they can conveniently, right? That's probably kind of what I'm thinking there. And then the thing about Hewitt, I don't understand that one really. I think it's just you keep somebody who can offer you something on special teams, I guess. But we have an extra linebacker on there because we don't have a tight end. So
yeah, and I think that's going to be, where you see a lot of movement. Like I said before, so hey, it is what it is, and it also goes to the dilemma that we have moving on, the dilemma we have at cornerback. Eric Stingley was the number 3 overall pick, solidified the position, gave us a lockdown corner. And we signed Steven Nelson, the veteran corner, who's okay. He's not great, but he can solidify as being a second or third corner. And Houston Texans said, "Where's Waldo with the rest of the with the rest of the cornerbacks?" Because right now you have Desmond King, who's more of an inside guy, Tavierre Thomas, who's on injury reserve, and that is it in the corner. Well, Tremon Smith, and I made this joke, but it's kind of has a serious tone to it. We have 3 cornerbacks and a return person, return man, and 3 cornerbacks in our secondary as far as the cornerback room. I think that is going to be addressed. The fact that they let Isaac Yiadom go, who had a decent camp and made some plays, even though he had some misplays and everything like that, to me, he was far and beyond the best outside corner that we had. Above Fabian Moreau, above Kendall Sheffield, above any of those other guys, Jacoby Francis, all these other guys or whatever. So I'm not surprised by any of the cuts, but that is a concern that I think that we need to address desperately. You know, going forward. What are you guys' thoughts about it?
Man, this is like one of those sad violin moments, man. Because damn, you would think after drafting 2 defensive backs that we might not have to. I'm sorry, guys. Like I just kind of look at everything in the long term. You know what I mean? Because I just kind of feel like this is just kind of like somewhat of a valuation year, and I mean the odds of like really really striking on a undrafted corner that like can really really be, you know what I mean. You would think that after you use two high picks on your secondary that what I'm saying, you could kind of take your foot off the gas, but you can't here because Steven Nelson and Desmond King will be 1 year older next year, and you know, just looking realistically, like even if you keep King, I mean Tavierre Thomas, I mean what long term corner, like outside corner, do you really feel comfortable? You know what I'm saying? Well, I mean Tavierre's a slot, but I mean what we don't have any long term corners here.
Corners, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just tough. You know what I mean? Because they're gonna have to probably draft. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with drafting a corner every fucking year, but like, I mean, they're gonna have to do it. So it is what it is.
Go ahead, Bab.
So my thing with the corner position is we drafted Derek Stingley, and then we were just kind of like, good luck, everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Now we have kind of gone back and forth about how much we value the cornerback position, right? Does Lovey just need one? You know what I'm saying? Is that all it is? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hey,
Yeah, I don't I legitimately I'm confused. You know, it's kind
yeah.
of cool looking at our at our early 53, Stingley,
Mhm.
Nelson, King, Thomas, Tremont Smith.
Mhm. That's what we got. We nailed it
Well,
right on.
it would be convenient to have Tavier Thomas healthy, right?
Right, right.
But
And I know that they're gonna play King outside sometime too. But that's not utilizing him to his strength. Um, and what kind of irritates me, irks me with the fan base is that they get all up in arms about running back, tight end, receiver, and the offense. And yeah, the defense played well, but now you're at a point now where you're like, pay attention to the cornerback room. Yeah, the running backs, okay, but you have a running back. You have Damian Pierce. So it's like, okay, you're just trying to find second and third running backs.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the tight end room. Yeah, that needs help, but you do have Brevin Jordan and Pharaoh Brown. Even though they're not the best, they were starters last year. So they have rapport, and they're at this point in time, they're who you're going to roll with. Receiver position. Yeah, you need to add some more talent, but you have Brandon Cooks. You have a potential, you know, pretty good receiver in Nico Collins. So it's not like you're just bare. Outside of Derek Stingley, you're bare.
You can't play defense.
You can't play defense, and that's the point I need people to kind of understand and realize for the Houston Texans, especially Houston Texans fans. Yes, offense brings people to the TV and everything like that, but defense wins you games and defense wins you championships. So you have to address the cornerback room in this waiver wire. If you don't address anything else on defense, if you don't address safety, if you don't address you're not going to address linebacker. You don't you're pretty probably not going to address defensive line. If you don't do anything, you got to bring in at least one or two corners. Um, and just looking at the list of free agent corners, all these guys are old. Everybody's 27 and above, 30 plus. Trey Waynes,
I mean,
Joe Hayden, who's
but
a decent corner, but he's oldish. He's 33. He's just probably be one of his last teams or last contracts. Logan Ryan. I would not be surprised if Logan Ryan is on the Houston Texans tomorrow, Wednesday at 12 o'clock.
you need one more.
You need one more. Xavier Rose, Chris Harris, Kevin King could be a potential. Was a first round guy from Green Bay that got let go. He's younger on the younger side, 27. Could be. You never know. Xavier Rose, who's 32. Jimmy Smith from Baltimore, 34. AJ Boye, I think he's way past his prime. He's 31, but he's past his prime. Terrence Mitchell, just released from New England. Couldn't make it in New England. He's 30. He was with us last year. I don't think they bring him back. Um, what is it? Jonathan Bethel, another cornerback from New England. He's 32. Then here you go with the Josh Normans, the Richard Shermans, the McCourtys, the True Fonts. Now you're going down the list of just, guys that just ain't got it. I mean, we had Reggie Robinson on the roster last year. He's a young corner, 25. Could
Mm-hmm.
we potentially think about bringing him back as a familiarity with, even though he couldn't make the 53 last year, didn't even make the practice squad last year, you know, Cleveland cut him. So do you go there? But after that, it's just like a who's who, of cornerbacks, and it's kind of depressing in the fact that you may just have to trade.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to go ahead and take because you got 4 6 round picks. You may have to take a few of those 6 round picks and go get you another corner. And I
Yeah,
think that may be what they do as far as like the cornerback, is they may trade for a cornerback rather than trying to pull one off the waiver wire.
and I mean, you got other, Petrie's obviously going to come down and play some slot. You got MJ Stewart, who's going to play some slot, who can also play outside corner.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Murray can play, apparently. I don't think Eric Murray can play anything.
Mm-mm.
But apparently he's got some versatility. But I guess that's a good segue into our next position group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We can talk about the safeties, man. I mean, we got our four.
My bad.
Bless you. Yeah, we got our four. We got MJ Stewart. We got Jalen Petrie. We got
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Owens,
Mm-hmm.
and we have Eric Murray. Um,
This is one we botched immediately. We said the first person out was going to be Jonathan Owens.
yeah, Jonathan Owens played well enough, but Jonathan Owens is still not the answer at safety. I
Yeah.
think he was the best of the rest at safety. In all honesty, Jalen Petrie is your far and beyond your cornerstone at that position. But you have to find other pieces around him. And unless MJ Stewart, to me, MJ Stewart plays very well. He just was behind Terrence Brooks and Graylin Arnold. And I think they want to give the veteran a chance to show what he's worth. Hopefully, Graylin Arnold, who's to me, he was my camp crush, man. I really wanted
Mm-hmm.
him to make it, and I thought he had, a real good chance to make it, and he just kind of got bit by the numbers. And I think that he's going to eventually, if he clears waivers, I think he's going to be back with the Houston Texans on the practice squad for sure.
Yeah.
Let's hope that people didn't watch too much tape of Graylin Arnold and he makes it through waivers. So,
Yeah.
um, but other than that, that's the safety position, man. And what are y'all comments on that? I know Babby said we immediately dropped the ball. Leo, do you have any comments?
Um, dude, I mean, his secondary is like, yeah. I mean,
The secondary is really just two players, and we drafted them this year.
I
Eh,
mean, I mean, they really, I mean, for real, like they're gonna draft a cornerback in the first 3 rounds.
mhm.
You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
I wish, in a perfect world, maybe we would have gone Stingley, Roger McCreary, and then our guy from Illinois.
Kirby Joseph, yeah.
Yeah, if we would have done that shit, I think we would have felt great. But I don't think now looking back on it, you don't pass up on Jalen Petrie. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
and I mean, it's not the biggest deal because, like, I mean, this is a multi-year project. There was no way, like, what I'm saying, if we would have done that, we would have still been looking at some other part of roster and been like, damn, like that's not of NFL quality. You know what I mean? So
It's weird to see. I guess just to kind of do a general overview of everything and how we feel like the 53-man roster panned out. It
mhm.
is so weird now, a couple of years removed from the bullshit, how in complete disarray this roster was and how bad we missed on draft picks.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the Bill O'Brien era had no idea what they were doing.
nah,
Like from coaches to general managers, like to evaluator scouts. You know what I'm saying? Like everything. Like it was just absolutely putrid. It's so weird to see how Nick has like Nick Casario has flipped the roster and like what it looks like now, and how when we're looking at some of these low key players, we're like, oh yeah, like those guys like add a lot of value to the roster, and then we're like,
Yeah.
how many other fucking 53-man rosters do they add value to? You know what I'm saying? Like not really any, right? It's such a weird reality, man.
yeah. I mean, I mean, it's crazy that like, and I mean, obviously, like there was no like spaces, or didn't even really I was never on Twitter before, really like right when we all met. I had always kind of felt like our roster was like in need of a rebuild, but we just kept on fucking winning games because we had talent at those positions that win regular season games, like receiver. You have receiver, you have a good quarterback, you know what I'm saying? And then you have like a decent pass rush. Like you're gonna win regular season games, especially when you play in our division when there's no other, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, shit, we were just kind of just able to just beat teams, you know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
I think, man, like when you really look at it, like you said, bro, I mean, it's no real it's not really shocking when you think we went from like a playoff team to like a 3 or 4 win team literally in one season. And you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't a fluke. It was like we had back-to-back bad season. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
How would y'all rank the roster right now by position group?
Mm. You want to give a grade, or you want to do 1 through 10?
Let's just go let's just do like a top 3 positions you think on the team right now.
On the top three, offensive line, defensive line, and linebackers. Those
In
would
that
be,
order? In that order?
yeah, in that
Yeah.
order. Um, I think that's the three, and then your three concerning positions is tight end, cornerback, and I would say, yeah, tight end, cornerback, and safety. I wouldn't say running back, and I wouldn't say receiver, because I think you're going to find somebody to come in, and I think you're okay with Damian Pierce at running back, and you're okay with your top two. And I think even Philip Dorsett and Chris Moore are okay. So
Yeah.
you're not desperation need, but you are going to upgrade all, all those positions. So
I do think it would be interesting to trade for Lockett.
mm-hmm.
That would really be intriguing for me. If we were to look for potential people to trade for.
you saying trading for Tyler Lockett?
Yeah.
How?
What was that face, Leo?
I mean, shit. Bro.
You'll fucking take it, right? You'll take it.
I
It's,
mean,
it's about
the thing about it, bro, is that like when you go back and watch those Pep offenses, like that Ty role is like really really important, and he fits that type of bill. You know what I'm saying? To like,
He would be he would take every return snap.
but I mean, the thing is like, so this is his 8th year, so he's about 29. Yeah, he's 29.
I know we're not in a position to do like a trade like that. It wouldn't even it wouldn't do anything for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
but just imagine like you're saying, with Cooks and Collins on the outside and Tyler Lockett in the slot.
That and then even when Mechie comes back,
Mm-hmm.
that's an incredible 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fan.
Yeah, exactly. But see, like, yeah. I mean, I know you just said like it's not really. I mean, I just feel like, I mean, bro, the crazy thing about all this is that like I think that we're probably gonna end up, because of the way the roster is. You kind of have to. We're gonna end up probably signing Thompson and Howard both back in the end, because they're gonna have to go receiver early. They're gonna have to get another corner. We have so many needs to where like the luxury of like we don't. I mean, it pisses me off because like all those arguments to me are based more on people actually thinking our tackle tandem is like gonna be dominant, but it's more so about that's like.
What if you were a global energy company with customers in different places on different systems? You call in IBM and Red Hat to create an open hybrid cloud.
Sorry for the commercial break from one of my sponsors, Red Hat.
But like, I mean, bro, like, I mean, I don't know, man.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
It's kind of disheartening because I mean, like we have so many needs that like we're gonna have to end up. I mean, maybe not, but I feel like we're gonna have to end up paying people that I feel like just might not,
Yeah.
Because we're gonna need a receiver, you're gonna need a tight end, you're gonna need another corner. And
after two Nick Caserio drafts, it makes me go, I don't want to move any of these draft picks for current players in the NFL. Because one of the things that I've realized is he's drafting like the perfect fucking players.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But he's bringing in some dog shit in free agency.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like who's a free agent he has brought in that has really like held it down? You know, Malik Collins,
Yeah,
right?
Malik.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
I mean, that's just about it. I mean,
I feel like it's hard to grade him on that because, like, I feel personally like these guys that he's bringing in are kind of like this. I don't know. I think AD might have been there last night. I was talking to B about it. I'm like, bro, these guys are like really like people that are meant for late round picks to end up slowly pushing out anyway. So I don't want to really grade them too hard on that, but it's just I feel like and I mean I just feel like it puts so much stress on the draft, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I just put like you have to really, really nail like everything. But I mean, I guess because of how fluid he can be, he's gonna hit on a lot of shit because he's just gonna take the best guy there. But it's just like, damn.
For the hell of it, I kind of took, the Texans' current 53 and put it against the Cleveland Browns' current 53, and just to kind of look at it, there's no way we're picking too far apart. There's just no way, man. I mean,
you mean from Cleveland and Houston? So, we kind of did a roster breakdown, not a roster breakdown. We did a schedule breakdown on Space last night as well, and we talked about the Houston Texans. We had the Houston Texans winning like 6, and we had the Browns at like 5. So like them at 5-12, and Houston at 6-11. With the schedule breakdown, and that includes Cleveland beating Houston.
Mm-hmm.
In Deshaun Watson first game, I'm like, they play 11 games, and looking at their schedule you're talking about in those 11 games, they could literally go 2-9.
Yeah.
In those first 11 games. So you're talking about 2 top 10 picks, maybe like 5-7 or 5-8, similar to what the Giants had.
Yeah.
And the Jets had, where they had, I think Jets had 4-10.
Yep.
And so you could have a situation where you have a situation like that where you can do whatever the hell you want to do. If you want Jalen Carter, you can go get Jalen Carter. If you want Will Anderson, you could package those. If you feel like Will Anderson is the next great pass rusher, Von Miller, disruptor, Aaron Donald, disruptor. He's not Aaron Donald, but you get what I mean. Like the next great defensive line, TJ Watt, whoever. If he's the next great one, you can package up picks to go get him.
Yeah, get JSN in there.
Yeah, I'm not too high on him, but that's another conversation. But you can go get you a receiver. You can go get you Bijan. You know what I mean? You can actually, if you're picking 5 and 7, you can trade down from 7 and still get Bijan.
I think the emergence of Pierce might put us out of that, but
just imagine if Pierce emerges. Just imagine having Bijan and Pierce. Now you're talking about, ridiculous at the running back game. And if Davis Mills makes it another year, now you're talking about Davis Mills has more than enough that you shouldn't be a concern at running back.
I do think we got to get one of the top tight ends probably too.
Yeah, and that's what I said as well last night, that you're going to draft a tight end. You got 5 picks in the first 3 rounds next year. You got 2/3, 2 firsts, and a second. So, I mean, you're going to get a defensive lineman, tackle preferably. You're going to get a running back at some point if it's in the 2nd or 3rd round. If the quarterback falls a certain way, if Anthony Richardson falls in the 2nd round and you're right up there in the top, go get Anthony Richardson. That can be a position. That's 3. You're going to get a receiver. That's 4. And you're probably going to get another cornerback. That's 5.
Man, and you see, yeah, I don't know if y'all paid attention to it, but I followed Kyle Phillips like through the draft process, the UCLA slot receiver, Leo, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he's having a great camp. You know what I'm saying? Like he's playing well. right?
Yeah, Tennessee.
I haven't seen it if he got cut. I haven't seen, or
Yeah,
I don't. I
he made the roster.
Yeah, and so like a guy like that where you get him so late in the draft, it's like, man, like the Texans can do that. Like they can get, they'll figure that. I really feel like, I'm hoping and praying that Mechie comes back fully healthy and he makes a great recovery and he's going to do well as an NFL receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, and you've got a trio of Collins, who is an 800-yard receiver, hopefully, Cooks 1,500 yards, something like that, and then you have a healthy Mechie, you don't have to do too much to improve that wide receiver room, really, right? Because that's a coming up wide receiver room. Uh, yeah, it like Leo always says, we're just already we're still in position to draft BPA.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I think we had a conversation about it. I don't want to kind of talk about it too much, but that's something we can talk about on another episode. The idea of taking best player available your first 3 rounds and then going need after that.
Yeah.
Taking need in your fourth, fifth, and sixth, seventh round picks and just get as much talent as possible. Get the best talent possible in your first 3 rounds. And then regardless if you're doubling up on a position, regardless of whatever you're doing, you're going to, because you look at it this time, you doubled up on defensive back. You drafted a safety in the corner and it worked out very well. Now you have 2 cornerstones in your secondary and you look like a genius because you got the best cornerback and you got one of the best safeties.
Yeah.
So you double up. You double up in, let's say you get offensive line or whatever, and they're the best talent. Let's say you go get a guard in the center in the second and third rounds. Now you solidified your offensive line for the next 5 to 10 years. You got 2 tackles, you got Kenyon Green, and you just got a brand new center and guard. There's a lot of different things you can do in these first 3 rounds, but that's just my theory and my logic because I think when you go for need in those first 3 rounds, you miss 8 times or 7 times out of 10, you miss on those players. And I think that's where the Texans get in a situation with the Ross Blacklock, with the Lonnie Johnson, with the what's the guy, water polo tight end,
Yeah.
Kyle Holly wearing. You get in a situation with those players where you draft in the top 3 rounds for all 3 of those players and they're bust because you drafted them for need instead of drafting the best talented player. And just I don't give a damn if we already had, Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson. Go get Jonathan Taylor and figure it out. That's my theory on drafting. I think we'll circle back around when it comes around draft time. After January, we talk about it again. But that's the theory I have. But before we go, I do want to touch on the specialist. Specialist is unchanged from last year. Kaimi Fairbairn, Cameron Johnston, and John Weeks as the long snapper. I know we don't have any thoughts about that. Some people kind of despise Kaimi for what reason I have is unbeknownst to me. It's just, whatever. But some people just want to have something to complain about sometimes. But all positivity, I think that Nick Caserio is going to be a active player in the waiver wire. I think that he is going to be an active player in trades. I think you're going to see a lot of movement because the Texans don't have a 53; they have a 52. So they're going to make a lot of moves, and you're going to see an overhaul. I think just little notes about the roster: the Texans have 22 new players on this 52 roster, and most of them on defense. Most of them on offense. So you're going to have quite a bit of turnaround, and then you're going to add even more additional players. So that defensive line is damn near brand new. So that's a big chunk of the 22 as well. So we're going to see a lot of changes, man. But the next episode, man, we're going to talk about, the final roster and kind of going to go into leading up predictions and everything against the Indianapolis Colts. Hopefully we can, I don't want to spoil it, what we're trying to do, but I do want to program a note. We are, well, I am, and we are hosting a question and answer um, session on Friday at 7 p.m. on Twitter Spaces. And I'm gonna go ahead and let the cat out the bag for those who want to know. But we are gonna have Jason Braddock, who has been very, very popular on Twitter, especially within the Texan community, former 790 host, Sports Talk 790 host. And we're going to also have Jonathan Alexander, who is a beat writer for the Houston Chronicle for the Houston Texans. He's new, came from former beat writer from the Carolina Panthers. So we're going to have both of those guys do question and answer. And I feel like it's going to be pretty good because there are going to be a lot of questions regarding the final roster and the practice squad and everything like that. So you guys tune in on Twitter Spaces, follow us. Follow my Twitter at Bully60, follow Bab, Mastro Derek. Is that how you pronounce your Twitter handle?
Maestro Drake.
Yeah, Maestro Drake. I said Derek. You know. And then we got Leo at Leo is Forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
And so follow all of us. We're going to be on the space that Friday. And, tune in. Have your questions ready to go. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.